on the night of the NBA draft for the Washington Wizards. We would love to just get into the nitty gritty and talk about who the Wizards are taking at 6 and 18. Instead, Will Dawkins had some other plans for us. We're going to tell you why Wizards fans are maybe overreacting a little bit from yesterday's news. This is Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
See you, family. This is Locked On Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Alongside DC Sports content creating savant and credentialed media member for the Washington Wizards, Abdullah. I'm Ben Strober, and I cover all things DC Sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. And joining us tonight, the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham, a colleague of mine at 106.7 The Fan, the host of Overtime. You can catch him on The Fan or on the Infinity Sports Network or filling in on the Team 980. Lynnell, long time no see, brother. How we doing?
I'm about to say, man, yeah, I'm glad we were able to make some time for this. What a day it's been, and honestly, I think it's just the beginning of what we're going to see here over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Well, let's get right into it. You and I, we just did a show together on The Fan, and this is what we talked about pretty much the entire time. The Wizards trading Saddiq Bey, Jordan Poole in the 40th pick, and acquiring C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick. And at surface level, this gives the opportunity for the Wizards to really exercise some financial freedom in the future. So my question for you to start us off here is, why is this a good move here for Washington?
I think for the reasons you just listed, the number one thing that they did today was create financial flexibility for the future. And when you think about what the best currency is in today's NBA, it is that financial flexibility. I don't think anyone should be surprised by the move at all because of where Will Dawkins comes from. This is part of the Oklahoma City retool, rebuild blueprint and game plan here. It's flipping assets and doing your best to put yourself in position to make a multitude of different moves. I know the cap space is the big thing that we're going to talk about here. After next season is over, entering that summer with all those expiring contracts coming off the books, C.J. McCollum, Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, and others, they should have north of $110 million in salary cap space, with only Corey Kispert, I think, being the only guy that'll be under contract at that time. So I think it's a really shrewd move by Will Dawkins. I would describe it as like a chess move relative to like a home run. I don't think it's a move that like knocks my socks off and makes me go, wow, Dawkins is the best GM in the NBA, but you understand his thought process. And I love, for the first time in my lifetime, in our lifetime, we are seeing the Wizards actually follow through on what they said they were going to do, right? Like Will Dawkins said it at the end of the season press conference that they're not trying to microwave this thing. They don't want to make the play in one year and then be a 12 seed the next. They want to be, a perennial postseason team. And I think when you create flexibility like this, you set yourself up to be in position to make moves as they become available to you. The other thing that I want to say too is this, and I know me and you talked about this, Ben. I'm not sure, Abdullah, where you stand. Wizards fans out there, first of all, Wizards Twitter is like a toxic cesspool. It's one of the ugliest places you could be at times when people aren't happy with what's going down. Jordan Poole and the way that he was able to rehab his value last year, I think, was huge. And it says a lot about him as a person. It says a lot about the organization as well, giving him the runway to do that. And I got the chance to talk to Jordan Poole a lot over the past year and a half, 2 years, and he's just a stand-up dude, a guy that's from Wisconsin of all places. So think about what his NBA career has been. He gets drafted to big city Golden State and is out in California, and then he comes to the East Coast of the nation's capital. This is a small-town kid growing up. So, like, him getting adjusted to the bright lights, because of the personality he has, I think people assume that he is naturally a star. He's not, comes from humble beginnings, and I think, he really appreciated his time here in the nation's capital. I think we saw on social media the type of impact that he had in that locker room. The number one thing I get annoyed with is national reporters trying to pile on Jordan Poole and talk about, him getting punched by Draymond Green, and people describe him as an unserious basketball player. I describe Jordan Poole as a young, ascending 26-year-old future all-star that really showed he's got some leadership chops as well, based off of the way he treated the young pups here in D.C. Bub Carrington, Bilal, both with emotional posts on social media, kind of expressing their displeasure, I guess, by the move, but more importantly, their appreciation for what Jordan did for them. I think the Wizards franchise is in a good spot moving forward. The key with this flexibility is it gives you options here. The 2026 free agent class is a star-studded bunch. I don't know if the Wizards are going to be going after the marquee names in that class, right? Luka Doncic could be there. Kevin Durant could be there. Dame Lillard could be there. I don't expect those to be their targets, but I think some of the middle-tier guys like a Norman Powell or a Naz Reid, also a part of that class, maybe they're the finishing pieces to get the Wizards into that play-in fringe playoff contention. But the bigger reason I think creating the financial flexibility was most important is you can now become a hub for bad contracts around the league. And I think we've seen other bad teams do this. Oklahoma City did this during, points of their rebuild. When you have the financial flexibility to take on bad contracts that teams don't want, you're not going to take the bad contracts on for free, right? The Wizards aren't a charity case. They're a real, professional NBA franchise. So if I'm Will Dawkins, I need it. I need first-round picks attached to every bad contract that I get. What that does for DC is a couple of things. One, it puts them in a position to where maybe they can rehabilitate an asset that's considered bad, similarly to how they did with Jordan Poole. Or two, you create the ability to take multiple stabs at it when it comes to the lottery. And I think as we saw in this finals with OKC and with Indiana, you don't have to have a top 5 pick to land your star. So as many bites at the apple as possible that Will Dawkins and company get to draft a potentially franchise-altering player, I think the better they'll be as a franchise. The other thing that I look at with this deal is a couple of things, right? CJ McCollum, if he ends up being here, and you have the veteran trio of CJ McCollum, Marcus Smart, and Chris Middleton leading your young pups moving forward, I think that's a really, really favorable spot to be in as an organization. And if it is Ace Bailey tomorrow night, who better to learn from than a guy like, Chris Middleton, right? If it is Jeremiah Fears, who better to learn from than a guy like CJ McCollum? So I think it's a win-win situation all the way around. The one thing that I'm curious to see is, do they reroute CJ McCollum? The deal can't become official until July 6th. If the Wizards officially announce him as a member of the team in a press release and all that, and it gets finalized, he can't get moved until, I believe, late December, based on like the recently traded restriction. So that'll be like the moving point for him. But I think keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears peeled. I don't know if Will Dawkins and company are finished. This may end up being a 3-team deal to where McCollum never plays here in DC, similarly to how we saw Chris Paul. And I want to give credit here for a second. I call them the Wiz Vengers, right? The Avengers, everyone loves Marvel, right? Will Dawkins, Travis Schlenk, Mike Winger are the 3 entities that are going to get this franchise out of the mud. Think about what Will Dawkins and company were tasked with when they first got to DC. They had the worst contract in pro sports. That's what Bradley Beal's deal was. When you consider the no trade clause, it was the worst contract in pro sports. They turned that into CJ McCollum. They turned it into Chris Paul initially. They turned that into Jordan Poole. And they turned Jordan Poole into CJ McCollum. So, like, shrewd moves made by the guys in the front office. And it's a big reason why I think moving forward, they'll be able to garner, some pretty talented folks in free agency, because it's not Ernie Grunfeld and Tommy Shepard pushing the buttons here. This GM and front office group has clout and cachet around the league. Mike Winger, one of the most respected, front office guys in the NBA. Will Dawkins comes from the Sam Presti tree. We know he's the best exec in the NBA. Travis Schlenk was a big part in the Golden State Warriors and the Atlanta Hawks being built. So there are guys that have proven track records, and I'm thinking here in DC, just let them cook for a little bit. It may not be instant gratification, but I think when they do contend, they'll be a long-term contender for sure.
My thing is Lynnell, and I'm a lot more calm now than before, after the trade came out.
I'm glad you're able to calm.
Yeah. How do you not get a first-round pick? Is it? And to me, and I get it, Desmond Bane and Mikal Bridges are way better than. I don't want to say way better, but they're obviously better than Jordan Poole. But the fact that you couldn't get a first-round pick, is that like a little bit concerning, or do you think that was the best offer on the table, and just the league doesn't view Jordan Poole as that type of asset?
I think, unfortunately, while he's rehabbed his trade value, it's not to the point where I think Wizards fans may have expected. I'll also say this, right? That was my initial reaction too, Abdullah. I'll be honest with you. I was like, damn, this is your best asset in the organization. technically, right? When you consider age, contract, production, and you don't net a first-round pick for him. That expiring contract, though, of C.J. McCollum is super, super valuable. And when you think about where Jordan is contractually and where C.J. is contractually, if you want to really dumb this trade down, they gave up pick number 40 to get off of the last year of Jordan Poole. Like, that's the way that I would really describe it. And it changes their timeline a little bit because it gives them crazy financial flexibility in one of the most, what's expected to be one of the most active summers in recent memory when you consider, the potential star-studded talent that's going to be available in that 2026 free agent class. And I want to continue to reiterate to fans out there that are snarky and suffer from SLS, as I like to call it, score and lover syndrome, right? You just look at this organization and think that everything's bad. No. They have just how Jordan Poole has rehabbed how he's viewed around the league. The Wizards have done that as well with the guys they have in the front office. And I think, even if it's not a star who they sign in that free agent class, they're going to be able to have the financial flexibility to get potentially a key glue guy to help them get into that next step, that next phase of this rebuild.
Yeah, although this is a departure of a player that was becoming a leader in that locker room, especially to a young stud in Bub Carrington, this is going to benefit him, especially in the next year. Tell us why.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that's got to be, although he was probably sad, maybe shed a tear, because they're really, I know people put on facades for social media and all that. Like, they really rocked with Jordan Poole. Like, and you could tell by the social media reaction, talking to him in the locker room, seeing how guys would interact with each other. They viewed him as like a big brother, man. And they had a lot of respect for him because he's an NBA champion. He was able to overcome a significant amount of adversity. But if you're Bub, you got to put your emotions to the side for a second and understand this is like a pivotal point in your young career. In year 2, you're going to get the runway to show this Wizards organization, whether or not you can be their long-term, franchise point guard of the future. And I think that's a amazing opportunity for Bub. If you really think about his basketball journey and how quickly things have changed for Bub Carrington, he was a guy that on the AAU circuit made a lot of noise. People knew who he was. Ends up going to Pitt. I don't know how much that had to do with grades or whatever, but he ends up going to Pitt. First career game at Pitt, he registers a triple-double. He's there for a year, and the next thing you know, he's a first-round pick. And now a year after that, he's got the keys to the Wizards franchise. They're giving him the opportunity to prove that he can be that lead guard from now to the future. And the way I would describe it for Bub is sink or swim. And based off of what I know about his personality, his work ethic, the grit, and the love he has for this game, I think he's going to swim. Now, we're going to find out, though, in real time whether he's got it or not. Even if he doesn't prove to be the long-term point guard of the future, you have options with him. You can move him. You can bring him off the bench and have him be your sixth man. Or you can give him another year to develop. Like, this is the thing about this Wizards rebuild. Plenty of time, plenty of flexibility. I know fans are tired of seeing this group lose. As you all allude to every podcast, next year is going to suck as well. It's going to be tough because you got to keep your rights to that pick that the Knicks have of yours. It's top 8 protected. It doesn't benefit you to win games next year. So, Wizards fans, I say eat it for one more year, and then maybe the summer of 26 going into that year, you could potentially be ready to take that next step.
Well said, Lynnell. All right, we know you're a busy man, so we are going to let you run here, but we appreciate you, as always, for keeping it real and letting us know the skinny here on the Jordan Poole departure situation. Everyone be sure to check out our guy, Lynnell Willingham, on Twitter, at NELL_BTB. You can catch him covering all things Commanders, Wizards, Nationals, whatever you want. He's got it all on his Twitter page. Lynnell, thanks for joining us.
Ben, Abdullah, appreciate you guys, man. Good luck tomorrow. I know you guys are going to get a big audience for the live stream.
You as well.
2 of the best youngins in the business, man. You guys continue killing it, man.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, we got to pay some bills, so let's talk about it. Does this trade shake up the Wizards draft tomorrow whatsoever? We'll give you the details next here on Locked On Wizards. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets me manage business calls and texts from a single app. The shared inbox feature is a game changer. You can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have any existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We welcome you back here to Locked On Wizards. It's the day of the NBA draft. The Wizards are picking at 6 and at 18 here in the first round. Of course, the news is what's been on everyone's mind here in DC with the departure of Jordan Poole and Saddiq Bey and what that means for the future of this Washington franchise. But today is a day where we have to move on from that momentarily because the Wizards have an opportunity right in front of them here to get 2 players of extreme talent and extremely high caliber to change the trajectory of this franchise. And we ask the question here, does this trade change the way the Wizards approach this pick at number 6 overall, depending on who's there? I'm going to answer it first, and I'm going to say it doesn't change what the Wizards are going to do here, because I think it's all dependent on how the board falls their direction. If Trey Johnson or Ace Bailey is there at 6, depending on the way you look at it, if Ace Bailey is there at 6, I think the Wizards absolutely take him. We heard him speak from where the NBA draft is taking place in New York, and he mentioned why Washington looked like an organization that he could see as a good fit for him. I think he handled some of the really tough questions he got from the Philadelphia media about his draft process. I think he handled those questions really well. Trey Johnson also spoke very highly of his meetings with Washington. He said it felt very much like a college visit. He was able to meet everyone within the organization, all the coaches, and he said it felt really comfortable for him, felt really at home. So that's a very good sign of things potentially to come. And I think either Johnson or Bailey is going to be there for Washington tomorrow. And if one of those 2 are there, that is going to be the pick, in my opinion. Abdullah, you?
I agree with you. And it's going to be a tough situation between Bailey and Johnson. But I think, and this is what Ace Bailey's team wants, a team where he can go and strive and take those shots, playing alongside a lot of these young guys with Bub Carrington, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. To go back to the question, does it shake up the draft? I don't think so. I think at 6, we were going to get a guard, and now that the idea that you can land Ace Bailey, that wing, that offensive wing you just haven't had in Washington so long, and you're hoping that Bilal Coulibaly steps up in year 3, which I expect him. But if you put an Ace Bailey, that frame of 6'8", 6'9", defensively is block shots and guard 1 through 4, and offensively is a 3-level scorer. You can't pass up on Ace Bailey at 6. And again, I love Trey Johnson. I think he's just terrific. I can't say it enough. And both those guys impressed me with their pre-draft interviews. So, man, it's just crazy because from where the draft lottery was to now, the fact that you still have falling to 6 and you have the chance of landing Ace, it's amazing. And if it does come down to that, you have to go with Ace Bailey. And if Ace Bailey's off the board, you have to go Trey Johnson. And if both of them, God forbid, are off the board, then it's going to be a really interesting situation to see what the Wizards do at 6. And it's going to be a lot. With Jordan Poole being gone, I feel like if you get a guy in Trey Johnson, he's going to definitely fill that role. But even with JP13 being out, Ace Bailey's going to come in there and take all out of those shots that JP13 took. So we'll just have to see how it plays out, the top 5.
Yeah, another thing to note here is that Brooklyn now has 5 first-round picks in this draft.
They own 1/6 of the first round, which is insane.
It's unbelievable. And obviously, they're not going to take 5 players in the first round here. There's going to be a lot of activity coming from Brooklyn. I mean, that's where the draft is taking place. So it's only fitting that that's happening. But with that being said, if Brooklyn is really that interested in either Johnson or Bailey, I know Bailey has Brooklyn as one of his preferred destinations. Brooklyn certainly has the assets to go up there and get Bailey before Washington could, depending on who would be more aggressive. But Brooklyn has the firepower to do so right here. It's also being reported that at number 5 overall, Utah is very, very interested in taking Jeremiah Fears. So that's another thing to monitor. I think if it's not Johnson or Bailey, my best guess for Washington would probably be Kaman Malawach at 6. But that's just my prediction right here. I'm really interested to see how the Wizards handle their second pick here in the first round of this draft, because I think Washington still does have some assets here. And of course, with the trade today, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes things up. But the proponent of trading back up around the lottery, if Derek Queen slips out of the top 10, would be really, really intriguing with me. He also spoke pre-draft process in New York today, and he talked about his relationship with Bub Carrington. And you have to think that since the organization clearly looks so highly upon a guy of like Bub Carrington, not just as a player, but as a person, if Bub Carrington is vouching for his guy and Derek Queen, that could have some influence on what we see Washington do tomorrow night, or now tonight, actually.
Yeah, and I think if you somehow land Johnson or Bailey, and on top of that, Derek Queen, A+ draft in my book, but I'm calling it right now because I just didn't think at any point you could land 2 studs in those, because at some point people were thinking Derek Queen would be a top 5, top 7 pick. Obviously, what happened at the combine, but we still know, and especially you, he's a baller, and his game's going to translate well in the NBA. And I think we'll talk about predictions, but I'll get out mine right now. I think either at 6 or 18, one of those draft picks you're going to trade up from. That I'm 100% certain. If not, both of them, one of them for sure.
All right, real quick. It's the day of the NBA draft. Let's get our predictions before we get out of here on Locked On Wizards. We'll be right back. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're wanting to update your patio this season, WayFair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours. Comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. WayFair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space, from conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even those perfect string lights to set the vibe in your backyard. It's like giving the backyard that resort feel without the price tag on it. I recently picked up a new outdoor dining set and some new modern lounge chairs, and it's completely transformed my patio. It was real great for watching the NBA Finals out there. I love being able to filter and find exactly what fit my space and what worked within my budget. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Wizards fans, it's draft day, and we are back here on Locked On Wizards. Let's get our predictions in here real quick. Abdullah, we'll start with you. The Wizards are picking twice in this first round. What do you got for us today?
Oh, man, draft day, man. First of all, I want to say thank God we don't have to talk more about the draft, Ben. We've been so amped up and just shaky about what the Wizards are going to do, but we're going to finally figure out what they're going to do, and I'll tell you what they're going to do.
Preach.
At pick 6, we're going to land Ace Bailey, the stud that was supposed to be a top 3 pick. How the heck he fell at 6, I don't know, but he's going to be that stud, that wing, that's going to be that ball-dominant player, that superstar that we need here in Washington that we haven't had so long. And I think we move up from pick 18, and I think Derek Queen's going to slip, and we land your boy, DQ. Shout out UMD. Shout out the DMV. And I love it. I genuinely love it. You're going to come out with 2 studs in this draft, and Will Dawkins is going to look like a genius. Still, Jordan Poole trade still affecting me a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's all about the young people, the young squad, the whiz kids, and Ace Bailey and Derek Queen fit that timeline, and I can't wait to see how they do here in Washington.
First of all, you're exactly right. I'm so ready to see who's going to be in a Wizards uniform next year. I'm ready to see a player, and I'm hoping it's Ace Bailey or Trey Johnson, one of those two that are hoisting up a Wizards jersey, got the hat on and everything to celebrate our first draft pick in the 2025 NBA draft. I am so ready to finally be done speculating and see everything come into fruition and what direction this franchise takes, because it's already been a crazy offseason for us Wizard fans, and we're just getting started, and the draft is where it all begins. You got to build your team through the draft every single year. You got to, the past couple of years, Dawkins, he's hit his doubles in Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, and Alex Sarr. It's time to hit a home run. It's time to find a superstar player for this Washington organization going forward to become a contending team 2 years from now. And Ace Bailey is going to be the guy for me. This is arguably the second best player in this entire draft class. And because he didn't want to play in Philadelphia, this just shows me what we're seeing with the Wizards, because today we got so many comments and there's been so much hubbub about why does it matter how much cap space the Wizards have? Nobody wants to be in Washington. We wouldn't sign anybody anyway. That's not the point. You got to understand that now, back-to-back years, we have seen top draft prospects. Last year, Alex Sarr. This year, Ace Bailey, that have actually essentially ducked other organizations because they preferred Washington as a destination. This is a legit front office, and as Lynnell put it, with cachet and notoriety that's here in our nation's capital, and that changes everything. We are seeing things come into fruition, and I think Ace Bailey is going to be who the Wizards get tomorrow, and it's going to be a memorable day for Wizards fans going forward, because this is a guy that has the potential to become a superstar in our nation's capital. As for the second pick in this draft, I love the Derek Queen prediction. Of course, from you, Abdullah, that's who I'd want. Of course, I'm a little biased when I say that, but
just a little biased.
Just to shape things up a little bit here, if that is not the case, I think Thomas Sorber would be my second choice because of what he brings to the table defensively. And as a rebounder, I know that Sarr wasn't the best as a rebounder last year. That's maybe an area of his game that he could get better. But I think if you're going to go with a center or another big player, if it's not Derek Queen later in the first round, I think Sorber would be my guy for the defense and for the rebounding. Abdullah, I mean, I'll give you the floor here, just your final thoughts as we head to the NBA draft tonight. We're going to be live for it. First of all, I'll plug that right now. We'll go live right around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in with us on YouTube. Thanks to everyone who tuned in with the Emergency Podcast today. We were live right after the Jordan Poole Saddiq Bey trade. We went live about 30 minutes after it, and we had over 300 people in there at one point. We've got a ton of views on that video. We really appreciate everyone who joined in, left your thoughts with the thoughts on what you think about the trade, and hopefully we get more of the same tomorrow. We'll get the initial reactions of what happens in this NBA draft. We can't wait to share it with you, Wizard fans.
I'm hoping that there's no more like unexpected trades or any like big trades. Just let's focus on drafting some young guys here in Washington. But again, Ben, I'm gonna keep reiterating it. Getting Ace or Trey, that's a W draft in my book. And if those two guys are out, which I think that I think Ace is gonna be there at 6. But if those two guys are out, then the idea of Jeremiah Fears coming to DC actually might come to life, and a lot of his fans are going to come at me for this next couple of years of how he's going to develop here in Washington. But at the end of the day, Will Dawkins, Michael Winger, it's their team, and they know what they're doing. For so long here in Washington, it's getting attached to players who just weren't part of here long term. I get it. For me, I love Bradley Beal, and get that trade. It is what it is. Looking back on it, I think the Wizards are definitely going to be the winners of that trade. But now the Jordan Poole trade, I was upset. You can clearly see I was frustrated, not getting any decent draft capital. But when you and Lynnell talked about the salary cap situation, long term, it does make sense. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to have faith. I mean, Will Dawkins has done way more, enough to prove me why he's a really good GM and why he should be the future GM of this Washington Wizards team. And even though the bar was set so low with Grunfeld and Shepard, Will Dawkins knows what he's doing. And draft day, man, I can't wait. Let us know in the comment section who we're taking in. It better be Ace or Trey, because if it's Jeremiah Fears, then I'm probably closing my eyes, man. I'm sorry, man. I love Trey Johnson, Ace, but it's not that I hate Jeremiah Fears. It would suck if we missed out on both of them.
Evidently, today was a huge day for Will Dawkins, Travis Schlenk, and Michael Winger. Well, it's going to be an even bigger day today here for the NBA draft. 2 first-round picks for the Wizards. We'll have all the coverage here for it on Locked On Wizards, as we will be live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the 2025 Locked On NBA Mock Draft, a 5-episode series with the most comprehensive NBA draft analysis from NBA experts to college experts and NBA draft experts. Find the 2025 Locked On NBA Mock Draft on the NBA Big Board and Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks, everyone, for joining in with us here on Locked On Wizards. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayyubi, I'm Ben Strober. Happy draft day. Let's go, Wizards.